Grace earned another guest spot after the last one landed so well, and they are going to show us how the sequel goes today.
Thanks, Erica. I am going to teach this in terms of position, advantage, and consequence. Chest style is the right framing today. Tinnitus is the single most commonly claimed VA disability condition in the United States. More veterans have a tinnitus rating than any other single condition, and yet a significant portion of veterans who spent years working around jet engines, artillery, armored vehicles, and small arms fire have never filed. Most of them do not realize that their MOS alone can be enough to establish service connection.
Erica here. The VA Duty MOS noise exposure listing is the tool that changes the math on noise exposure claims. The listing categorizes military occupations into high, moderate, and low probability tiers for noise exposure. If your MOS is in the high probability tier, that listing is lay evidence supporting your claim even when you have no personal audiological records from service.
Arjun here. The two conditions to file separately are tinnitus and hearing loss. Tinnitus is the ringing, buzzing, or hissing sound. Veterans hear without an external source, while hearing loss is the measurable reduction in hearing acuity on audiological testing. Both should be filed on the same VA Form 21-526EZ to share the same effective date.
May here. Stick around through Scene 3, because the high probability MOS examples are where most veterans figure out whether their military job qualifies. The list is longer than most people expect, covering infantry, armor, artillery, aviation, and motor transport.
Tobias here. One more thing before we go deeper. Veterans who already have a tinnitus rating should check whether they also have compensable hearing loss. Tinnitus and hearing loss are rated separately under different diagnostic codes. Having one does not automatically capture the other, and many veterans are rated for tinnitus alone when they also qualify for a hearing loss rating.
A fast panel intro, and we are off to the races.
Professor Erica here. I promised myself I would let the host run the show. I meant it.
Arjun here. I came to ask who decided, and on whose behalf.
May here. I came to make the borrowing visible.
Tobias here. I will ask what it would take to make this wrong.
All right, the whiteboard is warm and the panel is ready to take on the first concept. That is a critical point, Tobias. Two separate conditions, two separate ratings filed together. Let us start with the noise exposure listing itself.
The VA Duty MOS noise exposure listing is referenced in the VAM 21-1 Adjudication Procedures Manual, Part 4, Subpart 2, Chapter 3, Section B. It assigns a probability tier to each military occupational specialty. The tier determines how much the listing alone can carry the service connection argument for noise-induced hearing conditions.
For high probability MOS designations, the listing itself is treated as lay evidence of in-service noise exposure. Combined with the current diagnosis of tinnitus or hearing loss and a competent medical nexus, a high probability MOS can establish service connection without any audiological records from the veteran service era.
For moderate probability MOS designations, the listing is still supporting evidence, but the VA rater may look for additional information about the specific duties performed, the equipment used, and how often the veteran was exposed to the noise sources. A personal statement from the veteran describing the noise environment in detail adds significant weight here.
Low probability MOS designations require veterans to demonstrate exposure through their specific job duties rather than relying on the MOS category. Veterans in administrative or support roles who nonetheless worked near flight lines, artillery batteries, or motor pools can still establish exposure through personal statements, buddy statements, and a nexus letter that addresses the specific environment.
The veteran's own lay statement is a powerful piece of evidence, regardless of MOS tier. A credible, detailed description of the noise sources encountered during service, the frequency and duration of exposure, and whether hearing protection was consistently available and used, strengthens every tier of claim. Turns out many high-probability MOS veterans still submit lay statements because they add specificity that the listing alone cannot provide. The high-probability MOS list starts with the combat arms occupations. Infantry, classified as 11B, is on the high-probability list because infantry soldiers are exposed to small arms fire, machine gun fire, artillery, mortar blasts, and the engine noise of military vehicles across a full career. The combination and frequency of those exposure sources is what drives the high-probability designation.
Cannon crew member, 13B, is one of the highest noise occupations in the Army. Artillery firing at close range generates peak sound pressure levels that can cause immediate hearing damage. Veterans who served in cannon crew positions for even a few years were exposed to cumulative blast noise that far exceeds occupational safety thresholds for civilian workers.
Armor crewmen, 19K, work inside and around tanks and armored fighting vehicles. The main gun firing generates significant blast noise. Engine compartment noise from the turbine or diesel power plant is sustained during movement operations. Those veterans, as Erica noted about cannon crews, deal with cumulative exposure across multiple noise sources throughout their time in that MOS.
Aviation maintenance. MOS designations like 15T and 15U are high probability because turbine engine proximity during run-up, maintenance, and pre-flight operations create sustained exposure at levels that require hearing protection. Veterans who worked the flight line without consistent use of hearing protection had significant cumulative exposure across their aviation maintenance career.
Motor transport operators, 88M, are on the high probability list because diesel engine noise in enclosed vehicle cabs, combined with convoy operations involving multiple vehicles, generates sustained noise exposure across long operational periods. Veterans who drove trucks for years in convoy operations have documented exposure histories that place them squarely in the high probability tier. Tinnitus is rated under diagnostic code 6260, and the rating structure is simple but also firm. Tinnitus, whether bilateral in both ears or unilateral in one ear, is rated at 10%. There is a ceiling of 10% regardless of severity. Veterans who experience severe, debilitating tinnitus that affects concentration and sleep are still rated at 10%.
The 10% rating for tinnitus generates monthly compensation on its own, and it also contributes to the combined rating calculation if a veteran has multiple service-connected conditions. Veterans with tinnitus plus hearing loss, which is a very common pairing, have two separately rated conditions, and the combined rating under the VA's combined ratings table is typically higher than either condition alone.
For service connection, tinnitus claims require three elements: the MOS noise exposure documentation or a personal exposure statement, a current diagnosis of tinnitus from an audiologist or physician, and a nexus statement, which for high-probability MOS veterans can often be provided by the examining audiologist at the compensation and pension exam itself.
Filing bilateral tinnitus specifically, meaning noting in the claim that the ringing affects both ears, is important because the rating is the same as unilateral, but the record accurately reflects the veteran's actual condition. Arjun, I know you have seen cases where veterans filed unilateral and later had to amend the claim to add the second ear separately.
Texter point. Exactly, Grace. Veterans should describe tinnitus accurately in the original claim. If both ears ring, file bilateral from the start. The rating does not change, but having the complete diagnosis on record prevents the VA from treating a later claim for the second ear as a new condition with a new effective date.
Hearing loss is rated under diagnostic code 6100 using a conversion table that combines two measurements from audiological testing: pure tone average and speech recognition score. Pure tone average measures the average hearing threshold across four frequencies: Ka, Speech recognition measures the percentage of words correctly identified in a standardized test.
The conversion table works by placing the speech recognition score on one axis and the pure tone average on the other. The intersection, determines the Roman numeral hearing loss category. That category then maps to a specific disability rating. The table is in the VA rating schedule, and the CMP examiner uses it to assign the rating after the audiological exam.
Veterans should know that a 0% hearing loss rating still means service connection was established. A 0% rating for hearing loss generates no monthly compensation on its own, but it protects the veteran's ability to get an increased rating later as the condition progresses without having to re-establish service connection from scratch. That foundation has real value.
The compensation and pension audiological exam is the critical moment for hearing loss claims. Veterans should not miss or reschedule that exam. The audiologist conducts pure tone testing and speech recognition testing, documents the results, and the rater uses those measurements in the conversion table to assign the rating. If the audiogram results are worse than average, as Tobias noted, a higher rating follows.
Veterans with existing hearing aids should disclose that at the C&P exam. The audiological testing is conducted both with and without hearing aids in some protocols. The unaided scores reflect the actual impairment level, which is what drives the rating. Using hearing aids does not reduce the rating for the underlying condition. The noise exposure evidence package starts with the DD214 to confirm the MOS and unit. Look up your MOS on the VA Duty MOS noise exposure listing to identify your probability tier. If you are in the high or moderate tier, you already have the foundation. If you are in the low tier, your personal statement about specific noise sources becomes the critical piece.
2. The personal statement should describe the specific noise sources from your service in concrete terms. Artillery firing positions, vehicle engine compartments, flight line operations, or weapons range. Work without hearing protection. How frequent was the exposure? How long were typical exposure periods, and was hearing protection consistently available and used? That specificity is what gives the lay statement weight.
For the current medical evaluation, get an audiological exam from an audiologist who can document tinnitus and conduct the pure tone average and speech recognition testing needed for the hearing loss rating. Many veterans get this evaluation before filing, so they know what ratings to expect, and can submit the private evaluation alongside the VA Form 21-526-EZ.
Drop in the comments below what your MOS was and whether you have filed for tinnitus or hearing loss. If you have not filed yet, let us know what has been holding you back. Many veterans tell us they assumed they needed records from service that they could not find. The MOS listing and a current diagnosis may be all you need.
If you forget everything else in this video, remember, if your military occupation is on the VA duty MOS noise exposure listing at the high probability tier, you do not need in-service audiological records to claim tinnitus and hearing loss. File both conditions on the same form, same effective date, and get the current audiological evaluation that establishes the diagnosis and rating level. Okay, it is quiz time. Let's find out what stuck. Think through each question carefully before you answer.
If you are getting real value from this series, show it with a like and a subscribe. We read every single comment.
Under Diagnostic Code 6260, what is the maximum VA disability rating a veteran can receive for tinnitus, regardless of how severe their symptoms are? The correct answer is B, 10%, which applies to both bilateral and unilateral tinnitus and cannot be exceeded regardless of severity.
What does a high probability designation on the VA duty MOS noise exposure listing mean for a veteran's tinnitus or hearing loss claim? The correct answer is A. The listing serves as lay evidence of in-service noise exposure, potentially supporting service connection without requiring audiological records from the veteran's service era.
What two measurements from audiological testing does the VA combine to assign a hearing loss disability rating under diagnostic code 6100? The correct answer is C. Pure tone average and speech recognition score combine using the VA's hearing loss conversion table.
Here is the core takeaway. Tinnitus and hearing loss are two separate VA claims filed together on one form. If your MOS is on the high probability tier of the VA duty MOS noise exposure listing, that listing is lay evidence of your in-service noise exposure. A current audiological evaluation provides the diagnosis and rating foundation.
3 years from now, you will thank yourself for getting that audiological evaluation, identifying your MOS on the noise exposure listing, and filing for both tinnitus and hearing loss on the same claim with the same effective date.
Coming up in the series, more deep dives on toxic exposure claims, service connection strategies, and how to build the strongest possible evidence package for every qualifying condition.
If this episode helped clarify the tinnitus and hearing loss claims process, subscribe to the VA Benefits series and share it with any veteran who served in a high-noise military occupation.
Taste more. See you next time.
Keep studying.
Information is position. Make sure you have the better view.
I keep waiting to find something to critique, Grace. Yeah, I have given up. 9 out of 10. Professor Erica, signing off.